Welcome, kings and queens, to another episode of Unapologetic, your number one podcast. This is the show where kings and queens tell their legacies and on. So get ready for the gems to drop and pull up to the table because we're ready. Welcome, my people, man. It's been a great year so far. Make sure you guys go back and check out the other interviews with Ms. Pfeiffer, with TVA news reporter, and the Eber brothers. I call them Eber brothers, man. They're doing such good work. But thank you all for staying with us for so long, man. We love the support. But today, we have, man, I can't even put them in words because I wish I had that type of intellect of finance, and I'm still learning. But this man, this young man here, should I say, has done so much great work, and he's making moves that is going to change our world as you know it by helping the communities and whatnot. So I want to introduce the one and only Mr. Edgar Ramon, CEO, and co-founder of Fields Cannary. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Man, thank you for being on the show. I know it's been a little minute. We've been hit and miss it for, for a little bit. It's been fun though, man, because I've been able to see, your vision come to reality of what you was telling me when we first had our first meeting. And from when we were talking, it was so much, to talk about something and put it in real time is a big difference. So as I've been following you, on LinkedIn and other platforms, you've been really, putting your foot to the gas pedal and moving like like very rapidly. And for the first part, I want to, tap into what made you get up to this point, because I know that this wasn't your, this is just not your only baby. You have done other things in the past that, brought you up to this sort of platform now. So can you give us a little feedback on what were you doing prior to being the CEO of Fields?
Yeah, absolutely. And just for clarity purposes, right? It's Fields Cannery.
Canada.
We've got that. We've gotten that a bunch of times, which is why we actually put the pronunciation inside that. If you can see it on my background there,
Oh,
it kind of
okay.
explains. Yeah, we've had
Okay.
people go, "Is that canary?
Yeah.
Cannery." So kind of the
Fields
equivalent of
Cannary. Cannary.
it's the equivalent of a brewery or a winery, but a cannery is in the cannabis space. So,
Right.
yeah, this has been a long time coming for us as well. So the progress and momentum that you're seeing really started like 3 years ago for us. And I'll get into that a little bit more. But prior to this, I was in Wall Street. I was in the finance world. Um,
Wow.
which actually kind of makes a lot of sense when you look at it from the point that I was in the derivatives market space, and we went through the housing crisis, and we saw a lot of changes happen in regulations and legalization of certain derivatives markets. And I took that same knowledge and experience and wanted to go find a new emerging market to get involved with. And being a consumer and believer of the cannabis plant all my life, I immediately looked at the cannabis space. That started back in like 2018. Then around 2019, I started a ancillary cannabis business in Chicago, Illinois, which was a cannabis event business where we did cannabis infused dinner parties. We would have
Wow.
we would have parties as large as 300 people to as small as private in-home parties for a gathering of 4, 6, 8, 10 people. Well, skip
That's
ahead a
crazy.
little bit, and I meet my business partner, Corey Roberts, who is from the Muskegon area, who had a similar business to our cannabis infused company. They did cannabis infused dinner parties throughout Michigan, but they happened to throw one in Chicago, and I was invited to attend and did so with my wife and a few other friends. And that's where I first met Corey. And he told me of this idea of starting a legal licensed cannabis business in Michigan, in Muskegon. Had done his research on the property, had done his research on the licensing requirements and everything else, and asked if if I'd be interested and want to find out more. I said yes, of course. Let's see what you got here, and made my first trip to Muskegon, and really just fell in love with the area and all the opportunity there. But really fell in love with the property that we're building this on. It's 4 acres right off of the main highway 31. It's not far from the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan. We had a little bit different business concept back then
Mm-hmm.
to what it is today, because what we ended up doing was we started to look at the industry as a whole, and then funneling it down to the industry within Michigan and the industry within Muskegon. And we said to ourselves, well, there's certainly a lot of weed being grown and there's a lot of it being sold, but what's not being done? And what's not being done, not just in Muskegon or in Michigan, but throughout the entire United States and beyond, is that public consumption. It's that hospitality component that's just starting to get involved in the industry. So we said to ourselves, well, let's do something unique. Let's do something that's kind of never been done before. And let's combine a hospitality business with a cannabis business. And that's how we
Mm.
came up with the cannery model. We looked around and saw that everybody knows what a brewery is, and there's a lot of
Right.
them in Michigan. And everybody knows what a winery is, and there's a lot of those in Michigan. But why isn't there the equivalent of that for the cannabis space? And now there will be. So on our 4 acre property, we'll have the ability to cultivate, to process, package, have our retail store to sell, then have a consumption lounge, a restaurant
What?
with an outdoor space, an event space, and a small amphitheater where we can host music venues or other things. So yeah, that's uh
Wow.
that's how we got here.
Wow. That was a lot.
It
That's a lot.
is a lot, yeah.
Wow, man. Okay. All right. Yeah. I got questions within questions now. Uh so taking it back. So would you say that your experience being in stock marketing help you understand the concept of the cannabis realm as far as that goes?
Well, I think it's a perfect match between me and Corey. And my wife is also a part owner and founder of the business, and she brings a separate valuable piece to this entire puzzle. It's valuable in the sense that I have the finance background. Corey has the cultivation background. He's been a legacy grower for 30 plus years.
Mm.
So he
Wow.
understands the plant very, very well. And then my wife has a 25 plus year background in hospitality. So when we combine each of our
Mm.
own unique traits, we
Yeah,
really start to fill a lot of those holes that need to be filled in this particular model. Now, I'm not saying that the three of us alone can do it. We are still filling those particular gaps with other experienced
of
people, whether
course.
they be restaurant managers or otherwise. But yes, I definitely think that not only did we see it as kind of a perfect fit amongst ourselves, our investors and other partners have also liked the fact that we've got finance background, we've got legacy cannabis background, and we have hospitality background to all help
Mm.
make this, a realistic business model versus just a pipe dream, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Right. That okay. Okay. So that's the pyramid. That's your power
Yeah.
pyramid. All right. Because I was wondering, like, okay, it's it's so many different pieces to that business. Is like, how are you able to do the restaurant, do that, you know, tap into that type of realm because ain't nobody has ever done it before. And so that was like, so you just answered all of that for me. So now that I see how you're doing it, it kind of makes sense. It's really it's simple as far as when you break it down like that. But I know that the journey to those certain, you know, levels is going to be difficult because uh especially because of, did you have any like problems with any how can I put it, licensing or, you know, or getting the city to agree to something of that?
Um, Not really. I wouldn't say that it was a walk in the park. I mean, we definitely have got a unique business model with um 5 different cannabis licenses, and then
Wow.
potentially a liquor license. So what we did was when we bought the property, we took a little bit of a gamble because the property hadn't been zoned for any cannabis type of businesses as of yet. But through my business partner Corey, we are a social equity company. We are a social equity recipient.
Okay.
He spent, unfortunately, he had spent time in the correctional systems over a cannabis charge. Um, so we did get a lot of assistance because of that. But I also felt though that giving the uniqueness of our business model, that the city of Muskegon, being very cannabis forward thinking, wanted to see this unique kind of concept come to Michigan first and Muskegon first. So they've been very supportive about what we're building out.
Oh man, because this is first of its kind, correct? Would you say?
Yeah, there's certainly bits and pieces of these fragmented. Like, of course, you have cultivation, of course, you have processing, of course, you have retail. There are other places that are now starting to open up lounges, but nowhere in the world is there an all-encompassing business model like ours that includes all of those licenses.
That that's incredible. Congratulations once
Thank you.
again. Oh
Thank you.
man. And so what are you guys are expecting when you open up? Like most people have their own type of vision. What is your vision of that?
Well, our vision is to really bring to not just the cannabis consumer, but the community as a whole, bring to them a unique destination spot where they can come and spend time with like-minded individuals, right? Bringing them something completely unique that, again, doesn't exist anywhere within the world. But just as importantly, helping normalize that cannabis use. And what I mean by that is that if you think about it, cannabis at a recreational level probably only has one true competitor, and that's alcohol, right? From a 21 and older type of product.
Yeah,
But if you looked at alcohol and said, if you took away all of the freedoms that alcohol consumers have and the privileges that they have, such as going into a restaurant and ordering a drink, going to a
right.
bar, going to a concert venue, or going to a sporting event where alcohol is just accepted. If you were to, remove that, the sales of alcohol would be a fraction of what they are today. So what we're saying is we want to normalize cannabis to give cannabis consumers the same privileges and rights and freedom that alcohol consumers have. Why not be able to book a reservation for dinner and do that in an area where cannabis consumption is also not only legal to do so, but welcomed. So what we want is our customers to feel that sense of welcoming, feel that sense of being accepted, and feel that sense of um, being recognized. And there's
Okay.
the age group is certainly changing as legalization continues to progress. Your younger age group is starting to say, I don't know that I want to be an alcohol consumer. And now with cannabis being legal in a lot of the states, they're saying I have an option and I'm choosing to pick this option. So we just want to make sure though that it's done in a normalized fashion, the same way that alcohol is.
Right. That's a perfect example. Perfect. Because I feel like I've never personally heard of anybody dying from cannabis, too much of cannabis consumption. But there are plenty of DUIs and deaths of alcoholism in the mix of that sort of thing. So I would feel safer, in my opinion, with that type of area that has that open for that purpose, because maybe we will have less under influence car accidents, because alcohol is the number one drug in the world, in my opinion. Everybody drinks or has drunk alcohol. Even if you don't like the taste of it, you still tried it. So it's like that particular field is so broad. And now that we have something like Fields Cannery coming here, I feel like it will benefit the area, like you previous said. It brings together like minds, because when I think of this particular platform, I'm thinking about Bob Marley. I'm thinking about how his messages and his songs talking about, sitting down, socializing with his people, smoking smoking marijuana, and try to bring together his people in his community. So I wholeheartedly respect that.
Yeah, I mean, we look, we're not encouraging, being under the influence of anything that is mind altering and going out and driving or doing anything that could be potentially dangerous or reckless. But the studies have shown, though, that alcohol definitely has a different impact than cannabis does.
Yeah.
There are no known medical benefits to alcohol use, and there are certainly lots of medical benefits for cannabis use. So yeah, I
That's
mean, there
true.
is
I
certainly a
mean,
lot of differences between those two. Um, but yet to date, alcohol consumers just have far more freedom and flexibility to not only consume it in public, but
right.
to even purchasing and so many other things. There's still just a lingering stigma, and even though we've been legal for quite some time now, there's still a lingering stigma out there that cannabis is a drug, where in reality it's a plant.
Mm. And so, are you in a sense trying to change that mindset for that, in that area type of region of thinking?
Yeah, I would say that all of us in the industry are. And I'll be honest, like for me, I've been a cannabis user for so long, well before legalization, that there was never really a stigma in my mind.
Right.
But when you get into it at a business level, you start to realize how much, the stigma really is out there and how, it does truly exist. So yeah, I think all of us, from the pioneers that got us here, and we've been fighting for legalization and rights, back in the 60s and 70s, and even before that, to the new operators that are just coming into the market today. We're all in it together to, again, try to advance the normalization and legalization of this plant.
Oh, wow. Man, you making me think deeper than I was before about everything. I love it. I love it. But
And it certainly makes our job a lot easier when you have the ability to have people come again to a place that has the hospitality components that we have. So because let's face it, the retail experience is short lived. You go to a dispensary, you spend 15-20 minutes, you're out the door. And then what? You have to go someplace private to consume. Our model is different. We want you to stay on property. We want you to have these like-minded conversations. We want to, for you to be entertained here, for you to have your dinner here, for you to have your birthday party here, your wedding anniversary, your corporate event, etc. So, yeah, and
wow,
it's just back to that, creating a similar environment that people have been enjoying with alcohol for decades.
man, wow. I can't wait for this to open. I just